Welcome to Speaking in Spoons with your host, Christina Brookman.
Hi, welcome to Speaking in Spoons, a chronically ill podcast. I am your host, Christina Brookman, and today we are discussing dysautonomia, long COVID, and POTS. And with us, we have Mary Ladd of the Long COVID Reader and with Long COVID Publishing. Hi, Mary. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, great to hear you and see you, Christina. And hi, everyone tuning in.
So Mary, I know a lot of long COVID is a big topic out there right now, and I think it's wonderful that you have created this collection of writings. Before we get into that, I'd like for you to share with our readers a little bit about yourself, uh, and your background.
Sure. I'm a writer and editor, and I had breast cancer in 2013. So that was my first time illness, chronic illness. And in 2022, I had COVID and it turned into long COVID. And I kept waiting to get better, and I didn't. And began to learn more and more about it, tried to find community. And when I had breast cancer, there was a publication called Wildfire Magazine. It helps young breast cancer patients, survivors, people with breast cancer. And I was looking for the same kind of community for long COVID. And the way Wildfire works is that you can write regardless. I'm a professional writer, but with Wildfire, you don't have to be a professional writer. You just get to tell your story. You can do it in poetry, fiction, first person, a variety of ways. And so I kept looking and looking, and for me, I like reading books, and reading things so that I can understand what other people are going through. Because when I read that or hear it, then I feel less alone. I feel less afraid. I don't feel as
Yes.
unique. And so I dumbly decided to do the book myself. I say dumbly because I just kind of shrugged off. Someone wisely said, that's a lot of work. And I thought, oh, I could do it. And it is a lot of work. And I had a ton of support. Um, so I brought in folks who are professional editors to help me figure out how to do a book. I wanted it to be representative of people around the United States, and I decided to start. While I could have taken submissions and writings from people from around the world, I heard from people from around the world. My knowledge on how to do a project like this, and I have done projects similar to this, um, is in the US. So we ended up with 45 people sending their stories in, and some of them are professional writers, but the point of the book was so that it could be anybody, so that people would feel seen and heard. And I had help from someone who helped me on a breast cancer project named Lydia Sviatoslavsky, and I formed a publishing company, and we did a fundraiser for it, and that helped promote the book. And then there was a lot of media coverage and a lot of interest, and it brings people together. And I've given presentations to research teams, at UC San Francisco, near where I live, done it virtually, and also the World Health Organization, and then other, any patients, organizations. Just being in community is really important to me. It's very
I love what you
exhausting
say
too.
about that, about community. That was kind of our goal here with Speaking in Spoons, because when you become chronically ill, when you become disabled, it can feel very isolating, and you are wanting to look out for your people, find your people. And what's so unique that's happened with long COVID is I have POTS, and have been dealing with that for many years, and it's horrible that that um, long COVID exists. And yet at the same time, because it exists, it's raising awareness for dysautonomia, which is like a silver lining of a really awful and tragic situation with COVID and then long COVID. What how has your life changed since having COVID? And I know you're a breast cancer survivor. Uh, did you go into full remission and then you had COVID, or how did that happen? Were you, yeah,
Sure. So the breast cancer was over, it was 10 years ago, and it was
okay,
yeah, extensive treatment and difficult medical situations, but no evidence of disease. And each year I go back. But the way my brain changed, my ability to have sex and think and be a contributing member to society changed then with breast cancer.
right,
And so it was always, it's kind of like simmers in the background, maybe,
yeah,
it's like sometimes it affects me, but not always. And so the long COVID symptoms, it felt very similar to having chemo. Just all the surprising ways it's devastating 1 hour, and then the next day it'll be something, another different
different, yeah, the
part being.
constant changing.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and I, with breast cancer, at least there's an end, the treatment, I had a calendar, but I thought, well, once treatment's finished, then I'm finished with that. Like in the past, move forward. And that's not how it works at all. And so with
yeah,
long COVID, how have I changed? Is that I am not able to do things I want to do. I do not get to see humans that I want to see. I spend a lot more time on my couch. I'm
yeah,
grumpy, and it's what it's like with the invisible illness stuff, you can't really hold a sign telling the world, here's, I don't feel good. And so I feel like that comes up quite a bit. And people have said with both breast cancer and long COVID, but you're good now, right? And I think at
yeah,
least Americans, like we're really used to being very productive. And, in capitalist society, your worth is measured by how
how
much
you're,
you work and how much money and
how much you
um,
produce.
how
Yeah,
much you produce and how busy you are. And so I'm not I like to have to-do lists, and I struggle with that because I'm just really not able to do as much. And then the good ways that it's changed is that it does get sometimes easier with community to just, know that I need help, ask for help, take better care of myself, and understand no one will do it for me. No one will say, you need to rest more, myself. And so I am lucky to have community in many ways. And I think that it's just helped me accept love, which is also, it sounds like, well, that's lovely, that's wonderful, that's really hard, because
very hard.
I just want to run
Particularly
away.
being the hard worker that you are, and somebody who identified so strongly in their work. I um I get that, and to then all of a sudden, what can I do? And I don't know if you've had this, but I have um people be like, "Oh, but you look great." And it's like you have no idea what it took for me to look like this when I'm seeing you. You're not going to see the aftermath the next week, and or the next month, really. And yeah, because people don't see that. They see those little pieces of your life. Um, uh, so when you were accepting publications from people, there are writings from people with long COVID and from POTS.
Yeah, so Minnie had so we put out a call and and let folks understand that broadly speaking, long COVID, and so some of the folks also have POTS, and
Have you
they could
seen,
write about that.
that's amazing. Have you seen any like underlying themes that keep coming up in people's word?
Yeah, it's interesting because some of the themes include acceptance, gratitude, but also the themes that you and I have discussed of like we look good, we look okay.
Yeah,
We are supposed to be doing something else with our lives. Our
right.
society and our community, our family, our blood relatives, our friends expect different things, or we think that they expect different things, and then here we are, unable to even walk. In a park that we used to, two people, I put their writings right next to each other because they wrote about just sitting on a park bench and how their routine had changed. So it's how routines have changed and the
Yeah,
loss and grief that comes with that, and also facing the unknown. And with that
yeah.
also just how relationships change with others and how sad that can be, because it's very, like you said, the isolation.
Um, I'm just that's hitting me, those topics. And for those that are watching or listening, um, we are going to have Mary's information how you can purchase your own copy of uh, Long COVID Reader. And at in the show notes, they will also be on our website, www.speakingspoons.com. But I also want to give you an opportunity to read a section of you were going to read some of your writing in it. Um,
Sure.
just to give the audience kind of a sneak peek of what they might be expecting in it.
Just know that I approach things with a dark sense of humor. It really helps me process life and life's difficulties. So, and we have a little bit of humor in one of the other pieces. Um, so this piece is called Sometimes Not Always. When a new primary care provider for COVID is real, when I finally feel seen and heard, I fantasize about clapping and exclaiming, "Yay, yay, yay." I might have acted on such a spontaneous reaction in the before times. Instead, now I hunch over, familiar, fearful questions simmer. What is going on with my exhausted body? Will I ever feel better? How will I pay my bills? I just saw a much younger patient, the lady doctor says. Her systems are destroyed, like you. Thanks. Walking home, I see people, presumably on their way to work, walking much faster than I can. And another question comes up. Is there something I can do to feel better when I wake up each day? Long COVID feels the worst in the morning. And sometimes not always. It's as if a baker's dozen of incredibly strong and fit baby gnomes have hammered my neck, legs, and skull non-sexually throughout the night. Sometimes not always in the following hours, other long COVID symptoms and potential conditions wreak havoc. Pinching pain, nerve damage, missing vocab words, food sensitivities via mast cell activation syndrome, insomnia, fatigue, bubbling, twitching, rushing, sensations in body parts that should not bubble, twitch, and rush. Swollen and cloudy eyes, a broken vagina, broken butthole, broken guts, spinning, nausea, dizziness. Half my vagina feels fully numb at one point, and another time, I swear microscopic bugs were crawling in and around all of my private parts. Am I in a science fiction film? When pulling on underwear or pants hurts, I wince and sob, getting ready to see the OBGYN. And there the team listens and probes. Yet ultimately, I don't get what I want, a COVID vagina chart designation to prove how wackadoodle my vagina and body has become. Instead, the medical verdict is that the tissues down there are thin. Maybe it's a win-win. I don't have crabs. I think I'll just wrap up there, but I go on, with the symptoms and just when will it end? What I have to give up. I have to give up cocoa and mushrooms and tea and coffee and pizza and who has time for this? I don't have time for, making the specialized foods that will make me feel better, all vegetables and all
Because it
fruit
takes
and
energy and to do that, and it causes pain to do that. So yeah, I hear you. I feel you. And thank you so much for sharing that and your vulnerability to share that. Like there was I know that you've talked about age quite a lot and like the comparison to other ages and stuff. And I know like my dad will always say, ah, don't get old, Christina. And I'm like, God, I am old. I've been old.
that's
And
right.
it sucks.
That's right.
It's really hard. So yeah, I
Do
think
you
this is a
think
wonderful thing. Huh?
Do you feel like I feel like I shouldn't have felt this way at such a young age? I feel like when I was
Yes.
70 or 80, sure, okay, I expect it. But
Yeah.
this, right? It,
I've had doctors look at some of my scans too and be like, um, they were surprised when they saw me. And they're like, wow, your neck. Because why I also have muscle skeletal things going on from the Ehlers-Danlos. But the last time I saw my dysautonomia specialist, he said, you're out of my scope. And that was scary, but it was also kind of it was validating because I'm like, oh, I'm not crazy. I keep having people tell me I'm complex. You're really complex, like even for like this. And I was like, but I didn't think it because it becomes your norm,
that's
you
right.
know?
That's
And
right.
you're like, I just thought certain, and some of this I grew up with and it just got progressively worse. But yeah, no, I did not. No, we should not be feeling this at this age at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And yeah, the gynecological, like they're talking about giving me a hysterectomy. But then he's like, I give it to you, except for the fact that I'm not sure your body can handle the recovery. So is it worse do we just stick with the issues that you're dealing with and the crappy pops vagina or
Yeah.
or do we or do we just remove it all and uh throw the dice and just pray your body can handle the recovery. And right now I'm gaming on the fact that it wouldn't because my last emergency like unexpected gallbladder removal did not go well. So because our pain management, like we have higher pain levels. I wouldn't be surprised if you have like if you're looking at mast cell, I mean that's part of long COVID, but I
Yeah.
mean it yeah, it uproots everything and it never goes away. My my aunt has MS and our previous co-host Nate, my friend, has MS and I think a lot of these kind of chronic disorders are very similar in that it's the up, the down, the up and down, up and down. And it's like we did speaking in spoons because of the spoon theory, which is all
Yeah.
about pacing yourself. But it's so hard to master that pacing when it changes every day.
Right.
Um, So yeah, um, I
Making
know you said that you're not gonna do a second because this was so hard to physically achieve, but I hope you will, even if it takes 10 years to do, because I think this is very important. Maybe even like an online version or something.
Absolutely. And the beauty of it is that I have at least set up the systems in place so that I know
Yeah,
how to do it. And I think there were a lot of hurdles that would make the second one. Um, the designer of the cover, he designs covers for many, many publications. So we could just put a number two on there, and
yeah,
it wouldn't be too much. Um, and I had wonderful support of people who, from the authors who sent in their work, and it was the first project where I had to give people and myself time and space to say, well, we do have a deadline for when we're publishing, and there's milestones we need to do. We also have to take breaks when someone cannot sit up and can't type and can't
yeah.
see and look at a screen and be in a room that has a light on, and it could be me. Then we take time, and that's very, very different. I've never worked on a project like that, and I don't
Yeah,
have enough trust in places and work obligations. It's Our society is not set up that way, so I'm really
no,
excited to work that way. And I know that the need is vast, and I could publish one of these every week if I wanted to. So
yeah.
and I do hear from people who are, like one woman almost like crashed her car when she heard it being read on the radio. She was listening to it in her car, like a podcast or a car. And
Yeah,
so it speaks to people, and that's the whole point, is for them to go like, wait, 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 someone understands me. They get me. I
they
have
get
to
me.
read this. I have to read it right now. I need it right now. And
It's that
so,
the validation and so many people with dysautonomia, with long COVID or POTS, it's very hard to get that validation because there are few specialists across our country. And in other countries that it's, the lack of knowledge, correct, like information and training. So there are people that haven't been diagnosed that probably have it. And then there are people that have been diagnosed that might have something else or have additional things, and their treatment is not appropriate, and that's why they're completely bedbound. So
yep.
this you're giving a incredible resource to people, so thank you for that. And
Oh, thank
um
you.
what after going through this process, the experience of your journey through long COVID and also adjusting your career and your expectations and things like that, what advice would you give to those out there, newly diagnosed, or maybe they're not newly diagnosed, but they're struggling with their diagnosis and that grieving that you're talking about?
Well, two things. Find community. You have a phone, find community. There's so many online resources available, meetings that are online. That's one wonderful thing that's come out of 2020, is that it's easier to find each other and be on
Yes,
virtual or on telephone, whatever way you can. Find community and be of service if you can, right? When you have the energy, talk to somebody else on the phone or over text, and just do as much as you can to be a part of a community. And as for the creative thing, I would say also try and use creativity, channel it, whether it's maybe just visualizing, creating something in your mind if you're more of a visual person who likes to draw, uh, and just try to use creativity. For the despair piece, I think um, community will help with that, but there is freedom in telling your story. You can also record your story into your phone. That's
yeah,
a way that is very validating. Um, And I'm in a creativity group, and there's others, on Facebook where people do knitting, drawing, and it's when they can, when their spoons, depending on the spoons that they have, and sharing with each other and then just encouraging each other. That's very validating. And I hate the word acceptance, and I know acceptance is extremely difficult, but for me, the times when I'm able to say, like, well, let me accept myself for how I am in this moment, in this day, instead of
Right.
fast forwarding and instead of being in the past of like, but I used to do this, but I used to do, I used to be
Like
able to
live in the
do,
present.
yeah. And it's of course easier said than done when, you know, it's a couch existence or a bed existence. But I think that there are so many things available, like your podcast and books and art. Like art can save
Good.
us, and we
And
can save each
laughter.
other. And laughter,
Yeah.
so
Like
important. Yes,
laughter
yes,
is so like Gilda Radner, one of my favorite comedians.
yes,
Her autobiography always touched me because it's titled It's Always Something, you
yes.
know? And that's like, like that sense. I love your humor that you used in your writing because you gotta laugh at some of this, you know?
Yeah,
You know?
because I think the laughter piece also is just it's a coping mechanism, but like you said, it feels so good. It's
Yeah.
like, can you believe this? Like if you could just tell yourself that, just say
Yes.
that out loud. Can you believe this? Like I tell myself that sometimes when I'm on the toilet, I'm like, I cannot believe this shit. It's literal shit. And it's just like, okay, what am I
Yeah.
gonna do? And the dog is crapped all over, and I'm just like, my life is shit right now. Okay, can I
We're
believe
just
it?
living in it. Yeah.
All I can do, just try to keep going. The laughter really does help
Just
me,
keep
and it always
take
has
one step
for,
at a time. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary, for coming on. And for those listening and watching, links will be in the show notes. They will also be on our website, www.speakinginspoons.com. There will be a whole page devoted to Mary and long COVID reader, and so you can get all the information there, how you can get her book and learn more about Mary. Thank you. And stay tuned next week because we'll have a follow-up discussion on dysautonomia, chronic illnesses with long COVID, and POTS from our panel of spoonies. Save your spoons.
If you want to contact us, please send a DM or email to speakinginspoons@gmail.com with any stories you have or would like to interview with us on any of our upcoming topics. And check out our website for all of our upcoming episodes and what's happening in the Speaking in Spoons community at www.speakinginspoons.com. Thank you for listening to Speaking in Spoons, and have a great day.